Hello everybody and welcome back to another My Porch Prints tutorial. This is Kyra and today I'm going to be showing you how to create some of these little journal envelope inserts. These are pretty quick and easy to make, so I hope that you'll have fun crafting along with me today. A quick reminder, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. This video is actually going to have a part 2 sort of, where I show you 5 different ways to do a envelope closure. We had a request from somebody on how to do that, so I'll be doing that video next. But for today's video, we're going to be starting by just making the envelopes themselves. These are, again, like little quick inserts that you can just add to any journal. And all of the kits and supplies are going to be linked down in the description box, so if you're looking for anything I mentioned specifically, everything will be linked down there. Also, you may have noticed that we got a new background tabletop. We have like a darker wood background now. The idea was that hopefully that would create a little bit more contrast and you would be able to see what I'm working on a little bit better. So let me know down below if you like the new wood background. Hopefully it makes things just a little bit easier to see. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here, jumping right in and making 5 of these adorable little envelope inserts. To begin, we are going to be using 2 kits from the shop. Specifically, we're going to be using this classic vintage large labels kit. Specifically, I went ahead and grabbed 5 of these kind of like square, like rectangular labels here that are all kind of generally the same size, and I did print these on cardstock, nothing printed on the back, just plain and simple. And then I also grabbed 5 of these sort of like longer, thinner labels from that same kit that I'm going to use on the other side of the envelope. And this kit comes with a variety of labels in different styles and sizes, so you can go through and pick whichever ones you want to use. They don't have to be the exact same ones I'm using, but just whichever ones fit your project best is fine. And then for these other 2 materials here, these are not kits in our shop. However, we do have like lined paper you can get in our shop if you need it, but any lined paper will do. You just need some writing space. It could even be blank paper. It doesn't have to be lined. That's just what I chose for my project. And then I have these little like brown cardstock pieces here that came with some envelopes we bought on Amazon, and again I will link these down below if we can find them, but really you just need anything kind of dark to create some contrast. So it could be a printed paper, or if you have like a brown paper bag or brown craft paper, anything like that will do. We're just essentially making kind of like a background label for our papers. You'll kind of see what I'm talking about a little bit later in the video. And then for our second kit here from the shop, this is our Autumn Cottage journal pages and papers. I went ahead and printed out the papers here. I did print them on cardstock just to give the envelopes a little bit more stability so that they're a little bit thicker. And then I did run them through the printer and print on the back of each of them. And this kit comes with 10 of these papers in total. So I printed the first 5, flipped them over, ran it through the printer, and printed the other 5 on the back. So it kind of worked out perfectly. Now, something to keep in mind is that a lot of these papers from this kit are directional, so they have an up and down, meaning that with how we're folding them today, parts of them are going to be upside down. So I didn't really think about that when I printed these. Otherwise, if I had, what I would have done is actually printed one side, right side up, and then I would have flipped it over and ran it through the printer with the other one being printed upside down so that it would have been right side up once folded. I hope that kind of makes sense. Ultimately, with the way that we're going to be decorating things today, it's not really going to matter, but if that bothers you, you can use like different papers that are non-directional, so you don't have to think about that. But I've already gone ahead and printed these out and I do really like them, so we're just gonna crack on here. So to learn how to fold these, you're gonna start with the bottom half of the paper and we're gonna fold it upwards. And how far kind of just depends on your personal taste. I'm going to actually be using my labels as a guide for how thick I want this sort of top fold to be. So knowing that I'm going to be putting my label on there kind of like this, I want a little bit of like space around the label here. So this panel ended up being around 2 to 2.5 inches, and that felt good to me. So once you're happy with your placement, go ahead and just crease along that bottom fold. And I'm going to be using a bone folder specifically to make sure that I get a really good crease in this cardstock. I want it to lie as flat as possible. So if you don't have a bone folder, feel free to use like a ruler or the back of your thumbnail or something like that. And then we're going to take this top panel and we're going to fold it down towards the center as well. And we're using this line of this bottom panel as kind of the guide for where that crease is going to go. So just fold right along that, and again, give it a good crease. We want things to lie pretty flat. And this next part is optional, but if you want to, you can round your corners just to make things look a little bit more finished. I'm going to be using this corner rounding punch that we got on Amazon, and again, we will have that linked down below in our Amazon affiliate shop. But if you don't have that, you can also just use scissors and round the corners manually by hand. That's fine as well. So there are kind of two ways to do this. You can, round the corners after you've already folded everything, which is what I'm doing here. So I'm rounding the top two corners and then the top bottom corners. But if you want to, you could also have rounded all of these before folding the paper. It doesn't make a difference either way. It just makes the page look, I think, a little bit more finished. And then you might notice that because of the print, you have like repetitive prints right here like this. Don't worry about it. Again, with the way that we're going to decorate it, it's not really very noticeable. So just don't let that bother you. And then you're just going to repeat that process. And if you want to, you can use your previous envelope as a guide for folding the other ones. Just layer them on top of one another and then kind of lightly crease where the folds are. And that should get your envelopes fairly close to the same size. They don't have to be perfect close counts. Feel free to do some, measuring if you want to. This was kind of just my quick hack. All right, so moving on to the inside here, we're going to be taking those little brown pieces of cardstock and we're going to be measuring them down to about 3.5 to 4 inches, kind of up to you on preference there. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that down, and I just want it to kind of fit nicely inside of my sort of center panel here, so that's why I'm going with that length. And then I'm going to use that piece as a template to make 10 of these pieces in total, so you'll need 2 of these larger panels per envelope. And I did round the corners just to keep everything looking cohesive. And trimming these pieces down did leave me with these 2 smaller strips, so I decided to go ahead and make use of those as well as kind of like, little labels on the top flap of the envelope. So you can use them on the outside as well as on the inside if you want to. Some of them I did that, some of them I did not, so it's just kind of up to you on how you want to use those pieces if you have them. And those pieces are about 1 inch by 7 inches. So the larger panels are about 3.5 inches by 7, and then the smaller are 1 inch by 7. And then I did go ahead and trim down my little notebook pieces to about 3 inches by 6 inch pieces. Again, it was more just kind of eyeballing what I thought looked nice and then using the ones I liked as templates to make as many as I need. So in total, you will need 10 of those little notebooks pieces as well. And I went ahead and inked all of my edges. That did take quite a long time because I inked my envelopes, my ephemera pieces, my notebook cards, everything. So, if you want to skip that step, feel free. I just thought it looked nice. And now I'm going to go ahead and start gluing all of my little panels down now that I've made them. So if you want to, you can create these like little tuck spaces using these panels. So by leaving one of the edges open, you can create a space where you can tuck, bookmarks or extra writing cards or little pieces of ephemera if you want to, make little pockets out of them. And you can also do that with the little notebook pieces, and create kind of like a layered pocket situation. I'm not going to do that today just to kind of save time since it's already getting kind of late by the time this project was getting finished. But if you want to do that, feel free. I think it would be really cute and fun. All right, so here I am going ahead and just gluing all of my little pieces down just like this, creating all that writing space inside of our envelopes here. And just like that, that's kind of the base for decorating your little envelopes. And from here you can take things a little bit further and do extra decorating, you know, adding labels and bows and, you know, ribbon and buttons and whatever else you want to add, fussy cuts to decorate. I decided to keep things pretty simple today, so I'm taking those labels I mentioned near the beginning, and I'm going to glue the thinner one to the sort of flap here at the top of the envelope. And then I'm going to take the sort of square, you know, rectangular labels and glue them to the back kind of in the center. So again, if you want to, you can decorate. I did think about adding some ribbon, but ultimately I just decided that I was a little too busy today to do that. But if you want to, you know, add trim to these, I think it would be really cute. If you want to add sewing around the edges, you know, go crazy. So I'm gonna go ahead and create the final 4 envelopes here, glue everything down, and this is kind of how they look when they're finished. Now, I will mention that gluing the inside panels is something you might want to wait on depending on how you want to create your closures. And that video on closures should be coming out in the next couple days, so feel free to kind of hold off on this project until that video comes out if you want to. Instead, you could just pick up some of the papers and labels and start, you know, cutting everything out so that you have everything ready. You know, you can ink everything so that you're ready to assemble it when that video is out. But otherwise, I hope that you had fun crafting with me. That you'll give these little envelope inserts a try. I think they're pretty easy to make, pretty versatile, and you'll be seeing them in a future junk journal that I'm coming out with really soon. So again, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out when that video drops, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye!